Hi, guys and gals. This one's for fun, but hope you'll remember something about it. So, if anybody ever asks you, it's about syphilis here. Syphilis, came along after 1492 when Columbus's men brought it back from the Americas. We gave them smallpox and chickenpox and all the diseases that killed them off. And so they said, "Thank you very much for giving us that. We'll give you something in return." And so the Indians of the Americas gave the world syphilis, the pox it was called. They had had it for so long that it didn't cause them any serious problems. But it didn't take but a couple years for one or two or three or how many of these guys came back, you know, from the Americas, that it spread all over the entire European continent within 5 to 6 years and became the scourge of the European world. So here's a picture from 1496 of the man with the pox. He's got these sores all over his body, and he's kind of woeful looking there. So how did the name syphilis come about? So a few decades after this woodcut, the word syphilis emerged from an early 16th century poem called Syphilis by this young fella here, Girolamo Francastori, in 1530. And it tells the story of the shepherd named Syphilis. That was a good name at the time, I guess, who had tipped over the sun god altars and as a result was punished by an affliction of venereal disease. Henceforth, the disease is named for the eponymous syphilis. Just a little thing, you can read this. But Cirrus, whom nothing escapes, Cirrus, who with one look embraces the universe, could not see without indignation such sacrileges, and so on and so on and so on. And then this terrible disease, known since by then among us by the name of syphilis, does not take long to spread in our entire nation, not even sparing our king itself. So you read this whole thing. So the king got it pretty quick off the bat. Oh, nasty old man. So this poem was written by a biomedical student. I wish I had the name. 2012. It describes all the effects of syphilis, and it goes through. There's three stages of syphilis. Syphilis has a primary, secondary, and a tertiary. Tertiary stage coming years and years later. That part affects the brains. But she described it. So there was a young man from Black Bay who thought syphilis just went away. He believed that a chancre was only a canker that healed in a week or a day. The canker is the ulceration on the genitalia and the skin, and that went away, and they thought everything was okay. But then came the secondary stage. But now he has acne vulgaris, or whatever they call it in Paris. On his skin it is spread from his feet to his head, and his friends want to know where his hair is. So you can see what's happening. He gets this rash on his body, and he's losing his hair. But there's more to his terrible plight. His pupils won't close in the light. His wife is aborting, and he squints through his gun barrel sight. Well, now it's affecting his pupils, and you'll learn about pupillary disorders with syphilis. And his wife is aborting. It affected her reproductive system, and he's starting to get problems with his eyes. Additionally, gun barrel sight, his retina's be involved, but not through yet. Arthralgia cuts into his slumber. His aorta is in need of a plumber. But now he has tabies and saber shin babies, while of gummas he has quite a number. Well, tabies is the slow degeneration of the nerves that maintain balance in the later stage. He's entering the tertiary stage. He can't walk good. His joints are killing him. He's getting an aortic, it could rupture in here. And gummas are granulomatous lesions of the skin. It gets granulomatous uveitis and other things. And then it goes on. He's been treated in every known way. They put mercury in him. They put silver nitrate up their urethra. But his spirochetes grow day by day. Spirochete is the syphilis bug. He's developed paresis. He's paralyzed baptized now, has long talks with Jesus, and he thinks he's the Queen of the May. Well, it's affecting his brain in the latter stage. He's getting dementia. I love this poem because it tells you all the things about syphilis. I saw a lot of syphilis when I was in medical school back in the, wow, 50s. That's 1950s, not 1850s, guys. And a lot of tertiary syphilis, a lot of problems with the heart and the paresthesia. Here's some famous people that died from syphilis. There's Al Capone, the famous gangster from Chicago. Toulouse-Lautrec, the height-challenged famous artist of Paris. One of his drawings of the Can-Can girls. This, I believe, is Edward Paul Gauguin, another famous artist who developed it. Oscar Wilde, famous playwright. Christopher Columbus, Napoleon. This is a painting by Rembrandt of another painting with congenital syphilis. Look at his nose. Anybody know what this is? Now, this actually is a nose thing made of probably steel or some metal they used. It's because when they lost their nose, they'd put this on and give them a better appearance. But you can see, it's, he's got a lot of deformities here. These are just interesting, just to look at real quick. It says erythema multiforme can be fatal, can occur, as a reaction to drugs, particularly sulfa drugs. This is a child dying from it, and showing some of the rash and stuff, just for interest. And pemphigoid, very rare. I've only seen a couple cases. You get this rash all over the body. But I want to point out here, there's something of a term you should remember, symblepharon. This is an adhesion from one part of the conjunctiva to another, or it can always go up to the cornea, and it can occur after alkali burns. So remember this name here, symblepharon. And neurofibromatosis, a reference only, horrible disorder, but it also causes problems in the eye, tumors in the eye. Here's a glioma by the optic nerve. Here's a glioma here, terrible disorder. There was a movie called The Elephant Man that this poor guy in England, David, I can't remember his name, or David Lynch was the author or whatnot, but he actually had something they thought was due to neurofibromatosis, but is another rare disorder. Just for interest, these are café au lait spots, and they appear in the first year of life and create number throughout childhood. And this is an early sign of neurofibromatosis. Here's one here. You can get these lesions here. My youngest son had a large one of these on his wrist and a bunch on his back, and he was diagnosed early on as neurofibromatosis, which was very nerve-wracking because this can be a horrible, horrible disease, as you've seen. Fortunately, when he was about 8 or 9, a doctor made the correct diagnosis that it was just, pigmented areas on his body, and he did not have neurofibromatosis. AIDS, I hope you'll never see a case of this. These were the Kaposi sarcomas affecting the lids, conjunctiva, terrible retinitis due to cytomegalic virus because of their immune system. Saw a bunch of these when I was in California practicing in the 70s. Thank goodness we don't see too much of this anymore.